Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. We are going to be doing a reading mid-year check-in. I don't know if I have the emotional capacity to read this book. These books always destroy me. You probably think, yeah, that's what happens in a book. No, but this book is so different. I think I was the only person there at the book event who had not read this book. A little embarrassing. Everyone is out here doing yard work. I did one of these videos a couple years ago. It was my first ever reading video I ever posted to this channel. Before that, it was all music videos and lyric videos and all of that kind of stuff, which I still do. But I've had a lot of fun creating this side hobby of making reading videos. So we're doing another one today. We're gonna be going over different stats for all of the books that I've read so far. So like different genres, repeat authors, average ratings, things like that. And then also my top 5 of the year so far. I also have this very cute mug from Anthropologie. It is my favorite mug I own. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Not even gonna pretend to read all of my info off camera. I'm just gonna have it right here, but I'm gonna post the stats next to me. My reading goal for 2026 was 30 books. Last year I read almost 60 and I really wanted to just cut that in half. I was reading so much last year. I feel like I was not doing my typical artist musician things that I normally do, like album study and just generally listening to music. I pretty much always had an audiobook on in the car whenever I drive somewhere. So I really just wanted to do away with that and get back to doing album study and just listening to music and podcasts too and stuff like that. My reading goal is 30 books. However, I have read 21. So I'm almost there, and it's probably gonna go up to 40 books maybe, I would say, since we're halfway through the year and I'm at 21. Pretty much anything less than 60 books I would say is good because I read a lot last year. And then so far this year I've also read 5 different genres. So they are literary fiction, romance, thrillers, historical fiction, and young adult. That makes sense because most of my favorite books that I've read this year, I think, are literary fiction. I've said this before on my channel, I do not hand out a 5-star rating. It takes a lot for me to give a 5-star. It basically means that there is nothing wrong with the book. In my eyes, when I give a 5-star, that basically just means that the book is pretty much perfect. The writing, the characterization, the setting, description, prose, everything like that basically is perfect. So with that being said, my average rating for the year is a 3.5. That would make sense because we started off the year not too strong. I remember reading The Names, and that was one of the first books I read, and I gave it 2 stars. So I feel like that kind of set the tone. Maybe if I had read a 4 or 5-star read earlier in the year, things would be looking a little bit different now, but 3.5, not terrible, but I definitely want to pick it up a little bit. Not that I have any control over that. Whatever I read is just, I don't know what's going to be a 5-star read or a 4 or 4.5 star read, but hoping that that picks up a little bit. Lastly, for the statistics, we have 2 repeat authors, and that is Alan Levi and Sarah Adams. I read both of Alan Levi's books, Theo of Golden and The Last Sweet Mile, and of Sarah's books, I read the first 2 books in the When in Rome series. And I'm loving that series, so I will be finishing that series, probably totaling my Sarah Adams books to 4. Now, if you've been following me since the beginning of the year, you know that I have been doing reading prompts every month. It basically started in February when I just wanted to read romance books the entire month. And then when we transitioned over to March, I was like, what if I just read green cover books for that whole month? This is not a new and exciting idea. It was just, hey, what if I did that? And then it basically went on from there with April being reading new to me authors. I just wanted to read different authors I've never read before and kind of isolate myself from repeat authors. And then May, I decided to read books no one is talking about, books that I've not seen any buzz about on social media, on the internet, on book podcasts, different things like that. And then this month I decided I kind of wanted a little bit of a break from that, and I wanted to just choose whatever I wanted to read this month. But the book prompts have been very fun. I've enjoyed reading between the lines, I guess, of certain prompts. Out of all the different prompts that I've done so far, and there've only been 5, I would say my favorite one thus far is reading new to me authors, which I did in April. I enjoyed this reading prompt because I feel like I still had control over what I wanted to read. I just couldn't choose someone that I've already read before, so I pretty much still had free choice with genres. Oh my goodness. I think everyone is doing yard work right now in the entire world. Everyone is out here doing yard work. However, I also did really like the green books prompt, where I basically just chose a book that had green or greenery on the book and read that. I did though find that hard because it made me realize there are not many books that have a green cover or greenery, at least that I saw or wanted to read, but that one was still fun. So I would say overall, my favorite prompt so far was reading new to me authors. Now on to my top 5 of the year so far. These are books that I am still thinking about, even though I finished them. Some of them I finished a while ago, some of them I finished not too long ago, but either way, they are living rent-free in my head. So I wanted to share with you my top 5 of 2026 so far. Okay, first we have The Wedding People by Allison Espach. My friend Cynthia actually gave me this book. She started it and wasn't really interested in it, and I've always wanted to read this. I knew a little bit of a spoiler going into it because I knew that it kind of started out a little dark, but then as the main character Phoebe gets to know the different people in the wedding party, her mindset change and her character development, I guess you could say, was very needed for the overall story. And I like the different cast of characters within the wedding party. I feel like they were all very spunky and weird and insightful. But this one starts kind of sad, but then it has a happy ending. Then number 4, surprisingly, this is not any higher. You're probably thinking, because I talk about this book a lot, but the first book in the When in Rome series, again, still sticking with me, very much loved it. I would just say in comparison to the other books that are on this list, this didn't have as much depth to it, but of course I still love the romance. I still love Noah and Amelia, and I love this little pie bake shop. There's also like a tiny little plot twist at the end of this that I still think about, and then now having read Practice Makes Perfect, I like seeing that mended relationship, I guess you could say, in that book. So this one was very cute and a great start to the series. At number 3, we have The Mad Wife by Megan Church. I'm still thinking about this ending, and honestly, it makes me think of women in this time, and if this were to happen to them, I don't know, I feel like there isn't much I can say on this without kind of giving it away. But what also sticks out to me is Lulu, the main character, and her husband in the end have a great marriage and relationship. Not that they didn't before, but again, I feel like I can't really say much on it. See, I'm just gonna give it away. I liked this book. It was number 3. Very, very good. Okay, number 2. Again, not much I can say on this book, but we have All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. Honestly, if I were to say so much happens from the beginning of this book to the very end, you'd probably think, yeah, that's what happens in a book. No, but this book is so different. This book spans decades of the characters' lives, and there's so much like symbolism in this book too. I watched a video kind of like diving deeper into this book and things that you may have missed, which apparently I missed a lot. But even still, like just the writing in this, there's so much to it. Like I feel like everybody says a literary fiction, it's a romance, it's a mystery, it's historical fiction, it's literally everything in one, following the main character Patch and his life in this small town after he rescues the popular girl from getting mugged or beaten up or something like that, and just how that changes his life. And change his life it did. And I listened to this on audio, so I think it was a really good audiobook as well. And lastly, for my top book of the year so far, it also happens to be the only 5-star I've read this whole year. And that is Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. Theo made me want to be a better person. He is so kind, he is so generous, he just wants to get to know people. I feel like the description of the small town of Golden almost reminds me of a coffee shop from my hometown. Like I feel like I could very much picture the atmosphere and the different people and types of people in the town, and sweet Theo. I just absolutely loved this book. I would not be surprised if this is my top book of the year, but so far this is taking first place. And to wrap this video up, I wanted to do a little rest of the year TBR. These are books that I would like to get to sometime this year. They've been calling my name for quite a while, much like the rest of my TBR, because I've had some of these books for so long. Some of these fit future prompts I'm gonna be doing, and some of them don't, and I'm afraid I won't get to them, but either way, these are books I want to eventually get to in 2026. The first one is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. Real quick, something to know about me, because I feel like I say this in every video, or at least mention that I've met a different author in every video. I love author events. I will go to as many as I can because I love hearing kind of like behind the scenes stories and details of books and stories and how books were published, things like that. So I did meet Virginia Evans in May, I think it was, when she came to Nashville to talk about The Correspondent. But anyway, I really want to get to The Correspondent now, having heard her talk about this book and kind of fun little stories about the different letters that are in here. So if you don't know, The Correspondent follows our main character, Sybil, and this book is basically comprised of letters. There are not really any chapters. It's basically all letters and correspondence. I don't know what the exact story is of Sybil and what we're following besides letters and emails and things like that, but this book is very highly rated, and I think I was the only person there at the book event who had not read this book. So a little embarrassing, but I do want to read this year sometime. Completely different genre from The Correspondent. I would really like to get to Dark Matter as well. We just got Apple TV, and I know this is a show on Apple TV, so that is part of the draw to read this so that I can maybe watch the show. That's always a fun little reward. But my first introduction to sci-fi was Blake Crouch when I read his Wayward Pines trilogy. That story drew me in. Those books are insane. I have him to thank for opening me up to science fiction, because now it's maybe one of my favorite genres. Depends on how you do it. This one seems very mysterious, but also I've heard it makes you kind of like reflect on your life. I don't really know. That will be interesting, but I love Blake Crouch's writing. I feel like it just is very propulsive because a lot of it is action, so you kind of just have to keep going. I think I'm gonna save this for like the fall or spooky season, because I feel like this would be a fun little sci-fi action mystery thriller. Another book I think I'm gonna save for the fall spooky season, just like autumn time, is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. I read her second book, what is it called? I have it down here. Oh, The Missing Half. I read her second book, The Missing Half. I felt like for what it was a good little palate cleanser mystery thriller. There wasn't really anything that kept me thinking about it. Like, I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but it was one of those books where it was like good for the time being. But since then, I haven't really thought about it. I've heard that this book is very different from that book, The Missing Half. I've heard this one's a little bit darker. I don't know. And then also on the back, it says, "What are your neighbors capable of when they think no one is watching?" I happen to really like my neighbors here, so I don't really like that tagline. But this one sounds very good, and I think this is also her first book that she ever wrote, so I would kind of like to see how she started off writing. So, I don't know. Last one for the rest of the year, TBR. This is a book that I would like to tell myself I'm going to get to this year sometime, but I don't know if I have the emotional capacity to read this book. These books always destroy me. Kristen Hanna's The Women. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. Literally 5 stars all around. Some of my favorite books are Kristen Hanna books, like Firefly Lane and The Nightingale, but I just don't know if I have it in me for another one. And I've been saying that for about a year. I've had this book on my physical TBR for a year now, and I always see it on Libby. Like, I could literally download it on my Kindle and help out with this length. There's just so much that you have to prepare yourself for when you go into a Kristen Hanna book, and I just really like being happy. Like, I just don't want to bring down the mood in my life right now. It's summer. Maybe in winter I'll read this. I don't know, but I'm scared, you guys. I'm scared. I hope you enjoyed this video. It is so fun making book videos. I'm having such a wonderful time doing that this year. This is my first year really just kind of going all in with them. Again, this is a hobby, so I'm not trying to make this my thing, but I love reading. I love stories. I'm a songwriter. I'm a storyteller. So for me, it just fuels the fire. Let me know if you have read any of these books that I've mentioned. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day, a great reading month, and I will see you in the next one.